Welcome back here to the Chip Shot Football Podcast. Jumping straight back into the game picks and predictions that we had going in the last segment. We talked about part one. Now we got part two in this segment, right? Looking at what we have coming up for that. The second half of the Sunday slate is, it's pretty jam-packed this week. There's a lot of games, obviously, with no one having any buys and everything like that. Quite literally, everyone's playing. I couldn't even fit everybody playing on Sunday into this game. Like the Houston Texans aren't on here because they're already locked in, and the Titans really don't have much to play for at all. So, the Texans were probably going to win that game anyway, but they're one of the teams that I just couldn't include on here for a couple reasons. But looking at the teams that I do have on here and some of the matchups, starting off with the NFC East in the top left-hand corner. Speaking of no implications, right? The Eagles are locked in. They have all their starters, not playing. I don't like Saquon not playing. I think that's really, really dumb. I know Saquon has said that he, is for the team first. If they don't want me to play, that's fine. I want bigger things in this season, right? And they just wanted, to win the Super Bowl, obviously, right? That's the biggest thing. So they're going to rest their starters, despite the fact that Saquon and this team could go into the history books. And for anybody trying to diminish that, like the Eagles are playing for Super Bowls, right? Personal records don't matter. Like, can we be honest? And, that's a historical, once-in-a-generation type of thing that it's not like Saquon could just think that, maybe next year I could just get it. I felt like that was important. It had a lot of significance in my mind, at least. So they better go win the Super Bowl now if they're not going to have Saquon go out there and, cement his name as one of the best running backs ever. With a record like that, it meant more to me, I thought. And I thought it could be something that brought this team together even more. But, of course, you have the injuries and everything like that. That could happen. I acknowledge that, but I don't know. I felt like this was big enough for them to play him, but, we'll see. If they go out and win a Super Bowl, then it'd be worth it, but I don't know. It didn't sit well with me, but at the end of the day, I feel like they're going to win this game. The Giants should lose this game, realistically, if they want a better draft pick, but you never know. They could end up winning this game for whatever reason. They haven't won in Philadelphia since 2013, and this is definitely not the time to do it, so I'm going to go with the Eagles for the Giants' sake to win this game. Then going down, moving to the next game that we have on here, this one could have been just as important as the Vikings and the Lions game a little bit, because this could have been for the division and everything like that, but based on the results last weekend, the Rams already won the division, and I saw today that there's not going to be Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp. All those guys are not going to play amongst some other starters. So, they're really focusing on the fact that they just made it into the playoffs. They don't really care who they play. Because if they would have won this game, they could have potentially avoided the Vikings or the Lions if they would have won. But, it's not like they're going to lose automatically, right? They're going to have Jimmy Garoppolo playing, and I don't know how many Seahawks are going to play either, but it feels like the Rams are just content with playing anybody. They don't really care about trying to avoid anybody. They're in, so they're going to prioritize the health and rest over, a better matchup on paper, so to say. So with that in mind, I had the Rams winning this game because I was very impressed with their defense and how they've allowed only 6 points, 9 points, and 9 points again over the last 3 weeks. But now with all the players being ruled out, I'm going to go with Seattle to win this game. I feel like they're going to have most of their guys playing, so I'm going to go with Seattle to win this game in the last game of the regular season. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to make the playoffs, but they're set up pretty nicely there in Seattle with their new head coach, Mike Macdonald. He's done a great job, so they're going to win this game to kind of end it on a positive note. Then, moving down to the next game that we have here, the Miami Dolphins are playing in New York. The rematch of this game from a couple weeks ago. The Dolphins are still alive, and they need a win, plus a little bit more help to make it into the playoffs. But they're going to have to do it without their starting quarterback again. Tua Tagovailoa is not going to play in this game. With the Dolphins season on the line, it's going to be up to their backup, Tyler Huntley, to go out there and win this game against the New York Jets. And, I mean, Tyler Huntley got the win last week, and it was against Cleveland, who put up a little bit of a fight, but their offense was so bad last week. It was atrocious watching them. I thought, shame on me for thinking that the Browns could come back at any point in that game, because every time they had the opportunity, it was not working out. So, it was against a poor Cleveland team, and now they're playing a pretty poor Jets team, right? If you saw the game against Buffalo last week, it doesn't fill you with any confidence, if you're a Jets fan, right? But, this season's already been lost for them anyway, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, for a lot of fans if they win or lose. But they were really humiliated last week against the Bills, and even with Tyler Huntley, Miami is rolling a little bit here. They're playing pretty good defense, and they're running it a lot better with Devon Achane. He hasn't really been talked about enough, I thought, this season overall. And I'm expecting Tua to come back eventually. I thought he would be all right to play in this game, but I feel like from what I saw from the Jets last week, it just feels like they're a lot more, they're easily breakable, right? They're easy to kind of, get down in the dumps. Once one or two things don't go their way, I feel like they're already defeated, right? You don't got to do too much to kind of get them to believe that they're going to lose again, right? So the Dolphins are still playing for something. They're going to go out there with a purpose. So because of that, I'm going to go with the Dolphins to win this game, despite not having Tua Tagovailoa. And speaking about not having your starting quarterback, the Kansas City Chiefs are not going to have Patrick Mahomes play against the Denver Broncos. It's going to be in Denver this time around. The first time, if you guys remember, the Broncos almost won that game, but the Chiefs blocked their game-winning field goal, of course, right? And they won that game to continue their win streak. But now that they've secured the number one seed, the bye week and everything like that, no Patrick, no most of the starters for the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Broncos have lost their last two games, and even still, they hold their future in their hands, basically. They just need to win, and they'll get the last spot in the playoffs, despite if the Bengals lose, if the Dolphins win, anything like that. The Broncos just need to win, and everything else doesn't matter. So it's pretty favorable, right, being at home. Despite the losses, they've played very well against the Bengals, and even against the Chargers, they had opportunities in that game. So it would just be so brutal if they miss the playoffs, going on a 3-game losing streak to end the year and completely miss out. That would be really harsh, because I think out of all the teams to make it, out of the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Dolphins, I think the Broncos have earned it more, deserve it more than any of those other teams. So because there's going to be no Patrick and how close they played him the first time around, I'm going to go with Denver to win this game and punch their ticket to the playoffs. And then the second to last game we have on here, the Chargers playing in Las Vegas. Not too much to play for here. I mean, the Chargers, if they win and the Steelers lose, could move up to the number 5 seed and avoid playing Baltimore, most likely. So that could be something. And, it is something to play for. But, I didn't think the Rams were going to rest any of their starters. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers do so either, right? They're in the playoffs. They probably believe they can beat anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if they prioritize rest over, getting a slightly better seed, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. But because of that, I'm going to go with the Chargers to just win this game. It is interesting in this game, though, because you got two of the most outstanding rookies in the class, with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, former teammates in Georgia, gonna dominate this division for the years to come. It's pretty interesting to see them, playing against each other now, probably for the foreseeable future. So they're going to be the two feature guys. They're both having outstanding seasons, but, one team is obviously a lot better than the other. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this game in the end, to end the regular season on a good note. And lastly here, It's kind of funny how the 49ers and the Cardinals kind of resemble each other a little bit. It just feels like there were moments in this season where the 49ers, you felt like, all right, they could be turning things around now. They're going to get McCaffrey back. They're going to get everybody back, and they're going to go on this run, right? It never really happened. And then at one point for the Cardinals, you thought, like, they're in first place, right? Like, Marvin Harrison's playing pretty well. Kyler's playing very well as well, from weeks like 4 to like 8 or something like that. The Cardinals were in first place, and you're thinking, like, hey, like, maybe, like, everybody else isn't playing fantastic. Why can't it be the Cardinals, right? But then they kind of fell off. The 49ers really couldn't get over those injuries. And where they had moments where you kind of felt that they could continue this groove, it kind of just fell short. So it is kind of funny how they mirror each other in that way. And I mean, the kind of difference I see right now, though, is the fact that the 49ers just fill me with a bit more confidence than the Cardinals. I think the 49ers are in a bit more of an optimistic stage right now with the kind of guys like Ricky Pearsall, the kind of game that he had last week, Isaac Guerrero, Renardo Green, Dominic Pooney, all these guys that they got the chance to see this year and know what kind of players that they have in those guys. I think that's been a benefit of this season if you're going to take away anything. And I just feel like despite them losing, the last couple games, I feel like they're in a lot better spot because the Cardinals have had some pretty brutal games to kind of knock them out of the playoffs these last couple weeks. So because of that, I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this game. Get a little bit of revenge here because the Cardinals did beat them in San Francisco the first time around. So the way the 49ers are playing right now gives me a bit more confidence for them to go out there and win this time around. And that concludes all the games that we've seen each and every weekend on Sundays for the NFL. We'll see how accurate I am when we return on Monday back to the regular schedule. But for right now, we do have one more segment to get to, and that's just kind of like a quick recap, quick run through of the playoff scenarios, and I'll give my final predictions as to what I believe the playoff picture is going to look like after we get through all the games on Sunday. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with that segment.